Electrical line settings, electrical line interference, electrical position of panels, allocate line center, electrical embryos, center line position location of track interference, plasma channels, communications, YXJ line center interference, position location, all levels of pi line rotation and wear. High settings. You understand how things are set up, position, location, direction. It's to understand how to form all levels of view. The allocate line center comes into the claustrum. That comes in line setting, position, locations, all levels. How to travel through it is levels of embodiment, levels of enlightenment, line condition, eternity. Coming into calculation, light streams, light interference, light probing locations. It's all about your electrical system and how it panels calculation. It's sure you understand that when you want to recognize line setting, it's really important to understand how to understand line position of future communication setting, because all you are is just energy. But when you form line position location, so then think of it this way: you're just a structure of light. That's all it is. Nothing else, nothing more. You're a formation location of a graph stream. That's extremely high rise because high rise line setting is all set location, position, and directions. So it's true to understand what's going on with your electrical system, electrical panels, high position location of track setting. So it's important you understand how to use not just the electrical system, but also calculation streams. It's all connected to inside you. Now the electrical panels is an embryo. An embryo line center is an embryo calculation setting. So it's all about a rhythm pattern. It's calculations to how set line conditions to your cerebral cortex stream. You guys are going to go to the central line communication to all levels, to the cerebral locations, into the embryo line setting. This comes into all levels when you guys come into your chromosomes. You come into your XY and Z line setting position as a force of communications. Chromosomes, line setting, rotation, interference. You come into all levels of energy form communication setting. So it's all understanding that it's not just the electrical system you have to worry about. It's how to control your body lines. So if you get two position locations, let's start offline. If you're trying to recognize things, you really have to understand the course of everything to its position where it doesn't have a beginning and it doesn't have an end. It's a continuous force that just keeps forming. The problem is that we're not in that formation location to understand our future adaptation cycles. Because we don't understand that line center, it confuses our anomalies in position location and light. See? See that light? See it travels through light? See that? See? Can't see my hand. See? So electrical light line interference is trying to understand how to go through electrical system. And it's a body adaptation where it comes into DNA track lines. You have 12 position location calculations, 12 DNA strand lines. Okay, you have a 24 sequence line grounds. Now you get a calculation of 24,000 light signature patterns. Now that's a 48,000 window and it's 72,000 computer rotation setting, location, electrical light conditions, position of 144. This is a crystal line connections of an embryo location, right? So don't get confused through anomaly. So understanding line connections, we get an information line gap. Set locations. Okay. All right, so we got two channels of operation, one position and another position location. One going one way, one going the other way. Okay. Now, that's an infinity 8 line setting. See the 8 in the middle? The infinity line center rotation interference. One becomes a film projector and one becomes a line connection. Okay. That's what it is. All right. And so, if you understand anything to line setting, if you want to understand anything through future communication system, use pass as locations underscore line center, pi, okay? Pi position location equal line connections in position of future communication system, right? Future line connections, right? Future and rotation setting, okay? Bracket interference position locations, bring back fourth line setting calculation stream. So setting communication line setting, if you want to understand position location directions, let's say you want to understand the core of this or the core of that. When you're breaking these things up, it's going do. You see it frame, keeps breaking up. Particles, cells, atoms, boom. And then it separates and then you see everything, right? But it doesn't stop there. It keeps going. But it's not going back, it's going forward. Okay? You're not going back in any way and form. To see something, you're not rewinding, you're moving forward. But position location is the Fibonacci line sequence location of one atom line setting, which is 1 million center line perception location per channel, okay? 1 equals 1 million line locations equals position location or levels of its atom system location, all right? Sending communications to higher levels, guys, okay? So setting communications center its line system, right? In the center operation. So it circles, 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 right? And when it circles, it separates the particle system in position, location, and directions in all cycles of northwest, south, and east. So particles, cells, atoms break up position electrical line wires in position. So when you break these things up, it channels its calculation setting and rotation interference. Sets position, location, of direction to its locations, right? See how it's separating? So once it separates, it finally sets position, location, directions. So it comes into spot channels. Okay, there's spot channel here, spot channel here, 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 here. This is when you break up a core line set into anything location, position, of direction, location. Right? So when that happens, it comes into line signature patterns. It travels faster, 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 faster. Right? It travels faster, right? So when it travels, it becomes nothing but a sonic wave. Okay? So when it becomes a sonic wave, it becomes an energy graph line, okay, in a hologram structure. See? It's turning into a hologram. So every atom in position location, once it reaches the core line, it becomes an atom. And when it becomes an atom line center, the embryo communication setting sits line wires in communication, position, location, directions, all right? C pods, high center generation light streams. Pod here, pod here, pod here. Comes electrical line wires in position of pad location of web. Line channels, operation to signal locations, right? So when it fully comes a hologram structure line, it keeps going, 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 right? So there's no beginning and there's no end to anything on any level, okay? To understand the history of you is to understand the core recognition of time of you, right? So this is the process where you basically, there is no past location when you're rewinding and you're trying to figure these things out. You have to keep going forward. Forward is position, location of its directions. And as soon as you turn in a hologram, you disappear. As soon as you turn in an embryo, you disappear. As soon as you go to electrical light connection, you disappear. It keeps going, going, going. It's nonstop, guys. Nonstop. Life doesn't exist in position location until you understand your electrical system. Once you understand your electrical system, then you understand all line position, right? Web and line centers, high line rotation, positional levels of travel, and acceleration location. All right. All right, so let's get into line setting. Position, location, and direction locations, electrical lights, electrical panels, high setting. Get them into the lower line rotation to the claustrum. Okay. Claustrum locations, all levels. I'm giving electrical panels, electrical light settings, and rotation. C pod line setting because December 23rd, you guys coming out of your pods. Okay, so this is a cloud line channel, the claustrum location. All right. And then you got a tube line position coming down line setting. All right. This comes into a line position location to all line connection. All right. So when you go into line center interference, high setting position location directions, right? Code setting locations, platforms, AI, and center line position, product line center, CPU, get a position. Channel down position. All right. 30 minutes. Have fun. Setting sensors, wires, and communication line connections. All right. Centers, channels, high center interference. There you go. Okay. To understand the operation is to understand that all positions because it's all connected to your thought line channels. So when you understand electrical light connections, a grid location, you're nothing but this. All right. You're nothing but this. I mean, you can channel line connections on levels. That's all you are. That's it. Nothing else. So once the electrical line setting, lines in rotation, sets in an atom location. All right. The tunnel defense line channel, communication position, location, directions. All right. So your electrical light centers, your embryos, and communication changes position of the DNA track line setting. Okay. So it's interesting to look at locations. You got two panels on both side line connection. You get an electrical wire line. Okay, electrical line system changes position, location, directions. So, when you recognize your body and what it is, it's all electrical lights. That's all it is. All right. Central communication is center lines, opens all shadow interference. And the shadow interference, position locations, calculations, high streams. Sits line communications in the line setting. And then more travel location, position, and directions, right? So goes in the ground line setting. and rotation interference, sets new communication line position of your magnetic highway information system, puts you in a higher level direction locations, okay, in a 2-line setting interference, sets line communications, down center line position, crosses streams line setting and rotation, okay, all line center rotation interference into all positions. And you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 line setting position locations. All right. Setting communications. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Atom in position of center line connection. All right. So there's a lot of things you have to understand through adaptation how electrical line wires work. So 1 line center interference. I don't see one like this anymore. Okay. I see one like this. Okay. You see it like this. I see it like this. Okay. 2, right? I see it like this. See the difference? So you understand calculation. It's true to understand that your electrical line setting changes position locations all through your atom lines. When you get an atom line interference, you can apply the division locations and come to electrical line positions of panel lines, right? Electrical locations all over the system, right? It's very, very high rise, and you just travel location, position, and directions out of the equation. So coming back in sonar line center, alpha communication setting, line center rotation interference, high levels of channels, higher position location of position, right? Higher levels of dimension line, travel position locations, too many interference position location directions, right? So it's true to understand how to balance out calculation streams. So it gets a lot more complicated when you reach higher lines and more level locations, right? So you guys see your computer like this. I see my computer like this. All right, it's very complicated stuff in this direction. You see it like this, I see it like this. So you have to really, really connect to your body what is the electrical lines. It's very powerful when you get that connection stream. So how's everybody doing so far? All right, just going through solar text location. Don't forget to drink your water. TNI connection line setting, all position locations, J structures, Laura, Gypsy calculations, Max, Vaughn, Ryan, Rhonda, Ash, Jill, Bender, Heather, Don, Gypsy, Lindsay, Pam, Johnny, Guardian, all systems, calculation setting, Jojo, Samantha, Infinite, McCall. Great to see everybody. Calculation high setting. You guys had a nice weekend. So it's all about adapting to your line streams, guys. Really understand your calculation electrical line settings. But once you get into embryos, boy, oh boy, you're very high rise. So many high rise line settings. To understand your future communication system, you're moving forward, not backwards. To understand anything through this is not rewinding, it's going forward. But to understand that is to break the surface. So if I'm going to break the surface location to all levels of this, I center its communication, all right, 2 Fibonacci line settings and molecular light, 1 position 2 and line center interference, sets position locations and opens all channel. It's a solar generation light stream. Now the solar generation light stream opens up its plasma line position, right? So it directs and redirects to the same position of center line, brings this in position and breaks up the atoms that's in this location of this structure. Separates. And you want to separate and you want to know more of what it is, right, to where it doesn't exist. Where it doesn't exist is all levels of existence, okay? Which is very interesting because you look at this and you just see the structure and how this is connected, right? But it's all magnetic, it's all electrical, right? It's all atom, it's all particle, but it doesn't stop there. There's no end to everything, guys. It's just a continuous force that just keeps going and going and going and going and going. It never stops. It keeps going. So to understand that, that's how life exists. It's like you spinning a dime, keeps going, never stops, never stops. It's on his table, never stops, never stops, never stops. That's life. Best way to put it. So it doesn't go back. Okay, ever. In any way and form. The only thing that goes back is your structural location and physical line of confusion electrical line connection of your embryos. Calculation high stream interference sets all position location in atoms lines and backtrack location in its past communication of pi. So it's mostly understanding light communications and all levels of channel line center of travel location. See that? Watch. See the light there? See how it connects? See? See the light panel? See how it connects? The road graph stream? Watch. You see it? It's coming together, right? You don't see it until you see it. You don't see it until you see it, right? But see how I keep turning it? And now you see the letters come in? So what does that mean? It means it doesn't exist until it exists. You understand? That's what life is, right? So it's very powerful when you connect to that line setting. I'm just showing you exactly what happens if you want to understand how you are connected to your electrical system, electrical panels, electrical line interference, or level position locations to your calculation setting. All right? How fast you're going is all your determination. This is going to help you always inform so you really understand more lines of you. Okay, let's see. Titanium sequence, violet flame, setting programs, good time core structures, 48 million expires and circulation left. Fibonacci, center communication setting, ground line centers and garden locations. All information. Okay. Yep. So I'm just showing you, yeah, gray matter, embryo connect. Yeah. Get in that calculation stream, guys. It's very powerful stuff. So now you understand a little bit more of what space and time is, all levels of U-line, right? It never stops. It keeps going on a continuous force. It keeps going on continuous flow. Okay, continuous flow. That's all it does, right? So let's say you get a physical line adaptation, location of separation. Physical line equals location of separation. So what happens with you is the physical line goes back in calculation equal line center location. Your system out of line rotation goes back in position location directions. So you start living the past line, your thought communication, right? So instead of going forward, you're in line position location of confusion. Remember, it's always going forward. Space is always going forward. If you're not going forward, your physical line center is going back in communication and mind setting, right? So let's say you get a 3-line position location calculation, 3 in your position of 3 in position of 3, okay? Heart, mind, and soul. So that's in continuous line center, bracket location, position, and direction locations, all right? A center calculation, setting rotation, in levels of a swirl communication, right? It's complicated, right? This is extremely high rise. So this is the window in communication, right? Blocks assist locations in a line setting. Okay, travels locations, track line setting in 1, 2, and 3 location, right? Right. So you bring back line center location 3 sets locations, right? So you circle line rotation 3, 6, 9, and 12. Okay. So 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 6, 9, 12, right? Heart, mind, and soul, right? So the body becomes an embryo. So that's what happens, locations. You guys are coming out of your pod lines, but the position, location, and direction is to understand that it's all levels of electrical line conditions. So what it is, all right? You start with this line condition, and there's little pods at the end. Okay, these little seed pods. These are your thought channel locations, right? So each thought line setting sets off a signal, setting line position, location, directions. Central communication setting and position and direction, right? Sets all signals in the electric connections. Direct line centers, thought direction of timelines, and high interference of times pi, right? That's a signal line channel in line conditions of everything embryo line center, electrical line wires. Electrical wires set in position location directions. Always goes forward. Almost constantly going forward. So if you change the thought line, it changes line communication, every thought communications per second, per channel, per operation setting, which changes frac line center to your space position of back force calculation high strength. So you don't want to do that, do you? So that's the true understanding. Okay. Now, seeing everything from inline setting is always moving forward, always moving forward, always moving forward. Now, if you're not moving forward, your position location of your embryos and your thought position locations are going back, which is setting off signals and position location of rhythms off calculation. That's where you guys allocate timelines off interference of virus communication. So thought channels keeps going forward. Every time you get up in the morning, your thought positions are changing track centers. So when you change your track center, you change these graph stream locations, right? So electrical line conditions and the position location directions changes all communication instruction lines, right? So it wipes out the signal in high setting interference, sets up a cluster line channel, line interference, sets up a new energy graph line rotation into a clock location back force channel communication, which is not good. So it sets its own clock setting, reverberation channel line center rotations back location at ground setting in rotation to a new chakra line center to flux capacitor going backwards electrical light condition, right? So now you're creating line center clock locations that are going back, right? Past reference locations, back clock locations, right? Which is not good. So I'm just showing you what happens when you understand more of your electrical system, what it is off the grounds. Once you understand more levels of view, you understand space division of space divide, right? Space division, okay, zero line connection is space divide. Space division equals space divide. Space line communication in division locations, all levels of direct locations. Channel line center in position of systematic line conditions in position of flux capacitance calculation in ground line setting rotation interference. Circle interference position of levels of track location, right? So it gets less complicated the more faster you go. And then you start recognizing the alphabetical line settings. And then you understand the percentage over a calculation of high setting interference location of 0, 1, or line position location of 0, 0, 0, 1, or line communications to cross signals, high center location of 0. Okay. The highest formation location is 0. Okay. Now 0 doesn't exist in line setting location. So your systematic line center, your embryo line center location disappears, but you're still there. The fastest track line center interference location limits all timelines all at once in a sequence pattern communication. So your thought position locations of travels changes line connection. Okay. So this is where you start. You start here, you go here, and you go here. But there's no beginning, no middle, and no end. Okay. Remember I just showed you with the light? When you travel light, you don't see it until you see it. You don't see it until you see it. So everything is created in the now, right away. Okay, that's a multipass for you guys. So it doesn't exist until it creates its system location to its thought, and that thought is connected to the electrical line connection, which is your embryo. That's connected to the claustrum, calculation setting line position of tube line center of channel communication. So many lines of high line setting and position of directions, guys. Okay, each panel is connected inside line to your thought locations per second, per channel, per operation, per square, per mile. Okay. One signal offline setting sets all position locations of its embryos offline. Right, this one here. So it's missing its seed pod location. Right, it needs its position of directions. See the phase structure line center. See the node location. There's intelligent locations. Right. See the eye lines, eye channel line position, electrical line wires, data streams, center line position location. So there's a lot of things you guys really have to start recognizing, right? It doesn't exist until it exists. And it's all calculated to your graph location of imagination. You create your imagination when it comes in, right? So you got the mountain, you got the sun. right? So you want that, it disappears in position location of calculations. When it disappears, it comes into shadow line connection, right? And then you just erase it out in calculation setting. Disappears in all calculation setting interference. So your redirect location, it disappears. So there's a lot of things of channel line of operation signals. So you have to start recognizing more levels of operation locations. So what you're doing is you're setting up signals at different thought lines. So it's sure you stand, what are you doing with your thoughts? Where are they going? How fast are you traveling, right? Well, that's all determination location to your clockings, right? Clocking locations of visual, right? Visual line center comes into all position locations to a high setting, right? Center communication, ground line center, and position of flux capacitor. Okay? Flux capacitor line, position location of its directions. Now it's extremely high rise, right? So everything that we structure is hologram interference. Now, hologram interference comes at higher levels of communication, right? This is line center locations into higher velocity of bracket location into zero line position. So once you get into zero, it's taking everything down to one number, and then you equal line setting. So in the highest line communication is underscore line center of negative over positive equals location of zero. Zero line center and line position location disappears in all level calculations. Goes faster and 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 faster. The faster it goes, right, the more it exists. The involvement and the communication is extremely powerful because the flux capacitor comes in so many channels of operation signals. Center and communication setting. All in rotation to everything through a clocking line center per second, per channel, per operation, per square, per mile, through space, through times of pi. Okay? So it's understanding that you don't exist until you exist through your thought. You don't exist until you exist with your thought. If I keep this here in the light line setting, you're not going to see anything through frame. You're not going to see anything. You don't even see it now. See? It's gone. It's in the light. It's traveling. So it doesn't exist until it exists. It doesn't exist. See? It doesn't exist until it exists. Okay? Do you understand how powerful that is? To put that in position location is the highest formation line setting, right? So mass of nothing is a massive equation to everything. The process of communication is never in line connection. So water interference location, ocean, seas line center doesn't have a memory until you give it memory. Do you understand that? It doesn't have a memory until you give it memory. Okay? So you don't exist until you create a thought. So, and it's all about understanding how to go through the mind line setting of travel and line setting interference location and position location direction is that you're living the existence of the now, which is everything of creation, right? But you don't create until you understand how to connect to your system. So levels of HAL of operation puts you in all levels of panel communication. How comes outline setting, structure locations, 3 channels of operation line streams, right? Line connecting to wires and high line setting and position location directions, right? Channels, its line centering and high setting interference in position locations, all levels of electrical lights of high position of track location. So it's all levels of creating data stream lines, guys. That's all it is. So when you come into that, you turn into levels of video box screens, data stream line settings, to understand how to calculate. It's going way beyond the sun lines or anything through a graph stream location of a kaleidoscope, looking through lens line communication, right? Trying to understand what's going on, right? So it's a tunnel line that channels the line communication setting. Tunnels and 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 tunnels, right? So the more fast you spin, the more you understand the atom line rotation interference of travel, right? Because it travels in so many calculation streams, extremely fast and high position, right? But it's not created until you create it. Okay? It doesn't exist. Nothing exists until you create it. And the only way to create it is understand the how of operation, how everything works inside line connection. All through electrical system, your mainframes in track setting. And the claustrum is just basically fire and wire line setting, inline position locations when you're traveling down. Okay. The central communication comes into all levels into your position location of position line, all levels of high calculation, high travel line setting, and calculation stream setting. So levitation, high channels, high interference, high direct locations, bringing in higher line settings and all of a calculation, right? Truly understand that you're a light communication signature. Now, understanding how to travel location. Okay. Once it gets past the mind, the phenomenon changes location to its mind. It's no longer in the mind of the phenomenon, it's the phenomenon of the mind. So the mind understands all high line center and all position locations in position location, each line calculation to its energetic line center, heat signature patterns and calculations, all levels of its pi. So once the pi line channels its high line center and position location, each streamline center is a data code center rotations, 3 line channels, right? You have to have 3 line channels on everything because it's past, present, and future line. So the past becomes 1 line communication, a 1 digital frame of 1 digital outline connections, right? So there's so many line interference. And the farther as you go, you set location of clocks. You got so many clock locations, right? So you got planet line channels, triangle position location calculations, all levels of S line center, 8 line rotation interference, box line communication setting, right? That's a clock location, right? So it all channels in line setting, in position of balance of you and the center communication, right? So the 9 channel line center comes on line center interference, okay? Center its communication to all levels of channel of operation system. All right, so 9 becomes 9, 9 becomes 9, 9 becomes 9. So 9, 9, 9, 9, 9. There it is. There's the complete cycle. So your central system is all levels of calculations, generation of light streams, high center interference, and direct location to its embryo. Embryo line signals its line wires and travels to higher line communication in direct locations in channel operation stream settings, allocate high line centers and high position locations into oracle line connection, into torque field position locations, into optical line center line interference. It's complicated. Okay. So, and that's where you start off the 3, 6, 9 lines. Now you guys are in 6, 7, and 8. 6, 7, and 8, right? 6, 7, and 8. Okay, Z locations is 9, right? So line connection, line center interference is to understand the 6th position of program location to the moon, 7 line communication center line to the cosmic universe location, and 8 is in the infinity cycle of calculations high stream. Right? Now, when the 9 comes in, 9 equals line connections of 12. 12 line center location is 24. 24 times line 1, line position XT1000 line. So it no longer becomes a multiplication line. It becomes a high interference location of high sending logical line wire. XT1000 line position location is 24,000 line communication. All right. So what you get out of the 6, 7, and 8 line center of 9, you come into a diamond core. And that's what the CPU and line center are in. Position direct locations, whoever's an activated stream comes into 6, 7, and 8, higher levels of travel and position location, high setting location to higher level setting in 3 communications. All right. So you start off the 6-dimensional graph, and that line setting interference puts you in a row graph location of stream setting. And everything through the calculation of 6, 7, 8, 9 comes in higher line center in position of 8th dimensional signals. Okay. 7th dimensional body, 8th dimensional signal. Now, when you get into the signal location, it changes the embryo. The embryo line center is position of a seed pod line center interference. So if you look at position, location, and directions, you know exactly what I'm talking about. All right. Okay. Core setting DNA structure. Yeah. Well, this is way beyond. and so many line communications, guys. I'm just telling you exactly. There's no beginning, there's no end. So if you understand that process, then you understand the communication setting, right? Right? Nothing exists until you create it. Nothing exists until you create it. Nothing exists until you create it. You understand? Triangulation right there, communication right there. There's a triangulation you just created. Nothing is created until you create it. That's space and time right there. Calculation stream. Hold on a sec. It's Monday. Why do boys come on Mondays? So, hopefully, get a better understanding of the importance of what it is, right? And how it works for you. It's a benefit on all levels. So, I showed you a lot today. I'm going to take you guys out in the line connection because we got Zoom line. So, coming up. So, does everybody understand what that is? Anything that you arrive to, anything that you calculate through, anything that you say, it doesn't exist until you create it. So that's how it works from all level system, right? So you're not going back, you're always going forward. And if you're not going forward, it's your thought that's in confusion locations, all right? So you can be trapped in your alignments, you can be blocked through surface or anything through calculation, right? That's a channel operation because a lot of people don't understand how to use the thought line. And if you don't know how to use your thought line, you're not connecting to your brainwave patterns. The brain consists of all levels, high setting. When it comes into higher channels of operation of U and psi line, right? Because it's the hardware line that tracks location, which is its software. Okay, so you got the hardware and the software. You got the hardware, you got the software, and you got the communications to your avatar. Hardware, okay, software, avatar. That's all it is. It's so easy to understand these things. All right. So, and it's a film projection when you get the avatar that scans position. It scans out and sees everything through observation. It's very powerful when you see these things come out. Scan. See? Scan. Wild, eh? How it works. So, getting you in that position of directions gives a better channel of operation stream, right? Okay, so I'm going to take you guys out. We got 40 line settings. I'll get you position location of 40. Send communication line setting, and you're back. Back in 40 line setting, high interference position location into 12 line triangles. All right. Just in time for Zoom Q&A. Make sure you close your portals, drink your water. I'll give you guys 5-10 minutes before we go on Zoom. Very, very powerful class. Okay. Get you better in line communication of yourself and start recognizing how everything is created inside of you. Right? All right. So tomorrow, line connections, we get into the rainbow bridge and the frostbite connection. All right. I'll see you guys soon. Adios.